I don't think we'll see him in the NRL again. I think it'll be rugby union overseas, but we'll wait to see what happens.
Welcome to the Code NRL show, and it's a bumper edition. Off-season, no such thing. Brent Reid joins me. This is a massive story. It's just broken on the Telegraph website. Ryan Papenhuyzen released from the Melbourne Storm, effective immediately. His career in the purple jersey is over, Reedy. You broke it. Where to from here for Paps?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, Dave. Where he goes next. I mean, he's been linked with R360, and I think he apparently wants to take some time to consider his future. I don't think we'll see him in the NRL again. I think it'll be rugby union overseas, but we'll wait to see what happens.
Well, that's a big one, right? Because straight away, if Ryan Papenhuyzen decides to defect to rugby union, we know that Peter V'landys has been staunch as far as parameters about your re-entry to the game.
Yeah. It's only R360 though, Dave.
Sure.
I mean, he's just been on holidays in Japan. I'm not sure whether he met rugby clubs while he was over there, but if he goes to Japanese rugby and it fails, he can come back straight away. Yeah. The issue's R360, which he has been, as I said, widely linked with for a long time now. There's an assumption that he has signed a letter of intent to go to R360 if it gets off the ground. So if he goes to R360, his time in rugby league's it's dead. Yeah, because that's a 10-year ban straight away. But we wait to see what happens with Paps.
What's interesting is in the moments after this story broke, my phone's lit up from rival clubs and coaches asking, what's the situation? Now, for me, that's an indication that Paps and his management haven't been sourcing interest from NRL clubs. The fact that so many clubs and coaches are reaching out to say, is it immediate? Is he available? It's an indication that more than likely he's leaving the game.
I'd be stunned if he was to turn up at another rugby league club, Dave. I mean, he had the chance to go to the Bulldogs 12 months ago, didn't go. I'm sure Gus Gould would have another nibble at him if he could. The Dragons, you would imagine, would have a go at Paps. But I don't see him playing rugby league. I think he's a different guy, Paps. He's a bit of what's the word I'm looking for? He's quite well read, well travelled. He's not your average rugby league guy, right? I think he sees rugby leagues is a means to an end, and I see him as the sort of guy I'd love to play rugby overseas, explore the world, because he's that sort of character. So I'd be stunned if he stayed in rugby league. I think he'll head overseas and play rugby, I'd imagine.
Hey, Reid, man, before we move on, what about this deal, right? And this gets you the exclusive stories, the big breaking yarns, like Reid Man had with Ryan Papenhuyzen being released from the Melbourne Storm. David Fifita news earlier this week. Jonah Pezet earlier this week. You get it all.
Deep dives, the stories behind the stories, Dave.
The feature stories.
Yep.
We get good feedback on those in-depth stories on the players that you want to know more about.
Yep.
It's $49 for the year. $50.
Drop in the ocean, Dave. Drop in the ocean for most punters.
Drop in the ocean. $50. $49. Call it 49.
Too good.
And you get it all. So at least that's a guaranteed win. Reid Man.
Yeah.
Hit the link in the description. As I said, $49 for 12 months, and you get all the biggest stories in rugby league. So immediately we think about the Melbourne Storm and what impact it has on the Storm. As you said, Paps has just been a mainstay of that footy club. You know, injuries aside, when he's on the field, they're a better team. Now they're in this situation, and we're seeing this at the Storm. Real changing of the guard with some big decisions being made. What does it mean? Like, we know Fa'asuamaleaui's been waiting in the wings for his opportunity. Is he the guy?
Well, they got money to spend now as well, Dave. That's the other thing. You consider Nelson's gone, and Nelson got a payout, right? So they won't get all his salary cap relief. I think he was on about $850. Paps is on over $900. Now, if he's been, I don't know the details of that release, but imagine if they haven't got all that money, they've got a fair chunk of it.
Yeah. So
suddenly they're a club that can go on the market. We know the guys have been linked with Tino. Now they've got the money to go after Tino now. I believe they.
So can I just press pause there, mate? So big Tino Fa'asuamaleaui indicates only 5 days ago.
Yeah.
I'm going to the open market on November 1. Now, conspiracy theories, the looking through a different lens. I wonder if Tino knew. Or the Melbourne Storm tipped Tino up that we could have some move in our salary cap some room.
He's on massive money, Dave. I mean, he's on 1.2 with a ratchet clause in his contract. So he could go to 1.5 when the next collective bargaining agreement kicks in and the salary cap goes up. So, look, Melbourne potentially got the money to go after him.
Imagine
but you're going to have to pay him a lot of money.
Yeah.
The interesting one for me, Dave, was I got told this week that the Storm had reached out to Jackson Purdue's manager, the young Cowboys centre 5'8", to ask just where the lay of the land was with him. He's been offered a contract extension by the Cowboys, but there are people within the game who see him as a fullback, Jackson Purdue, and man, he's a class act. So it'd be really interesting to see if the Cowboys have a little dip at Jackson Purdue potentially. The other thing it tells me is it doesn't appear as though they're 100% convinced by Sua Fa'alogo.
Yeah.
He's been waiting in the wings for a while, but he's had injury problems and never really got a good run at the NRL team. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But you know what? The Melbourne Storm, they have not been able to have a red-hot go in the market for a while now because their cap's always been really tight.
Yep.
But they're armed and ready now, so they can have a lash.
Your Sua Fa'alogo angle is really interesting because if we read the tea leaves and we think about what Braithen Nasta said through the negotiation phase of Jonah Pezet, and it was emanated that Cameron Munster could move to fullback. It's another indication of some question marks around Sua Fa'alogo at the Melbourne Storm. We've seen them use different players at times during games.
Nick Meaney's been used there,
So it does suggest the jury is still out on Sua and that they could use Papenhuyzen's money to go after a primary target from an opposition club.
I mean, the other interesting thing in Melbourne at the moment is Craig Bellamy and his future. A bit of a whisper. They wanted, obviously, the Gold Coast was circling him and he's off contract at the end of next year. There was a bit of talk that Melbourne wanted him to stay for one more year till the end of 27 and then fall back into a coaching coordinator capacity. With Craig not as head coach, they're still an attractive proposition because they're the Melbourne Storm, but it just doesn't have the same lustre about it.
Yeah.
So, that's integral, I'd imagine. They've got to keep Craig in the system, but it's a club going through a lot of change at the moment.
Yeah.
It's probably been overdue, right? I mean, they looked a little stale, I reckon, at the end of last year.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily see this as a bad thing. Much like I didn't see Jonah going as a bad thing for them necessarily, because it eased some cap pressure. They're under immense cap pressure, right? It gives them the ability to freshen up that squad.
Yep.
And they can make some changes and go again, because you're still going to have Harry Grant, you're still going to have Jerome Hughes, you're still going to have Cameron Munster, you're still going to have Stefano, you're still going to have Ali Katoa, you're still going to have Meaney, you're still going to have Coates. You're still going to have the bulk of that side. They'll be there again next year.
Good time.
But they've got some decisions to make.
I suppose the only one we haven't touched on in the fly in the ointment is the Perth Bears. Do they...
Well, they might. Well, you're right. I didn't even think of that, Dave. But I'd imagine now they'll ask the question of Paps. But again, it just depends. If he wants to go to R360, rugby league clubs can forget about him because that's the end for Paps. Yeah. He won't be playing our game again, which is sad.
Yeah, massive story, and we'll have all the movements on the Code Sports and Telegraph websites. It has been, again, we talk about, I don't know about you, Reed, man, but I get this question daily. Yeah. What do you do when the footy season finishes? Well, it gets busier. It just gets busier. Yeah. And we talk about Paps now. Yesterday it was Dave Fifita. Now the move has been ratified and confirmed that Fifita is on his way to South Sydney. It's a 2-year deal. The Titans have chipped in as far as the financial investment into his contract going forward, $250,000 over the next 2 years, I understand. I took some convincing on this being a good move. And I think the fact that he's not not being paid the $1 million price tag might just change my point of view on what South can get out of Dave Fifita. Yeah.
Well, you're all over this, Dave, but I mean, I like the move. I've been a fan of the move since it was first mooted, weeks ago, because Dave was obviously, it's not working at the Gold Coast for Dave, right? Yeah. For whatever reason, it hasn't worked. But he's 25, Dave. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's right.
And you speak to people about him, they reckon he's an amazing trainer. A great trainer. So the issue isn't necessarily dedication or his age. It just hasn't clicked on the Gold Coast. And Wayne obviously has been involved with him Wayne Bennett for a long time. And on his day, Dave is devastating. And I think potentially playing outside Cody Walker at South, I think maybe they can unlock something in Dave. And I reckon Dave could be. I hesitate to say this.
Don't hesitate, Reed. Dave. Man.
but I reckon Dave could be the signing of the season.
Oh, yes.
The signing of the season. You heard that first. Mate, I love him as a footballer. And you know what? He's a good bloke, Dave. Yeah. Not a lot of people know him. He doesn't do a lot of media. Pretty private guy. But the times I've spoken to him, I found him a really nice fella. As I said, he works hard. You know, that's I reckon a misnomer about Dave, that maybe people think he's a lazy trainer, but he's actually an amazing trainer, I'm told. So I think it'll be great for him.
I think what you said earlier about it just hasn't worked on the Gold Coast. I think it does come down to the pressure and scrutiny of being $1 million player. And when you're a back rower, this comes back for me to the Titans management. How they thought that you pay $1 million for a back rower who catches the footy maybe one or twice, 2 times in a set, and is solely dependent on that half, providing good ball. On top of that, making sure that you've got an equal share of possession, of which the Titans are always constantly making mistakes with the footy. I thought the investment was ridiculous from the Titans management, and that created a pressure and a spotlight on Fifita that he won't have at South
I've got
Sydney.
a bit of sympathy for him in that front, Dave, because if you remember, the Roosters and Penrith were both having a lash at Dave. I mean, he was already on the big deal, right? And I think he had an option, didn't he, from memory?
Yeah.
And then the Roosters and Penrith came in and had a red-hot go at him. Yeah. And the Titans went, bang, we've got to keep this guy. And Dave backflipped from memory on the Roosters, right? So, obviously, Trent Robinson, Ivan Cleary saw something in this bloke that could be devastating. Yeah. So, I don't necessarily think, I don't know, whatever it was with Des, when Des was at the Gold Coast, he just couldn't unlock Dave. Yeah. And Holbrook couldn't really unlock him either. So, now Wayne gets his chance, and Wayne's had a chance before and obviously thinks he can do it.
Moves are plenty. This one for Parramatta, Reed, man. Yeah. Jonah Pezet, you're all over it. He's headed there to the Blue and Golds just for the 1 year. Yeah. This has ruffled a couple of feathers.
It did, yeah.
I think Eels fans will slowly come around. They'll get there eventually.
When they win games, they will.
100%.
Yeah. I've been a fan of the move, Dave. I spoke to Jason Riles about it yesterday. And obviously Riles, he's got his reasons behind it, and they are that he knows Jonah well, knows him from Melbourne, stayed in touch with him when he left Melbourne, got a great relationship with him, and it gives his young blokes at the club a chance to grow and mature without having the pressure of playing in the NRL. So, Jonah Pezet, Mitch Moses and the halves for me, great halves combination.
Yeah.
I think they can do some damage.
Parramatta fans, all you have to ask yourself is, do you want to win footy games next year? Okay, maybe not. You probably don't win the comp, right? But ultimately, you want to go to the footy knowing that you're a chance of winning this game this weekend, and you're going to be doing that with a talent like Jonah Pezet in the halves. And I think it's a really good bridging gap between Jonah. Bridging the gap is what I'm trying to say, to their next run of young halves coming through at the Parramatta Eels. Yeah. Otherwise, it just would have been the blooding process too early for me. And
we saw Joash Papali'i, he got pushed in there, didn't he? He wasn't. Look, he had a red-hot go, and he's going to be a really good footballer, but maybe it was a bit early for him this year. Dave, the other interesting part of this is Brisbane, because I noticed Adam Reynolds has come out, and he basically said, I haven't decided whether we're going to retire at the end of next year. Did you see that? The best. Renault's basically keeping the door ajar.
Yeah, good.
But they bought his replacement. Yeah. How's that work?
Yeah. Well, he might be looking for book sales.
He could be looking
He's
for book
just
sales,
released his book. I've heard it's a cracker.
Christian Nicolosi did that with him. Our mate Nico.
Yeah, it's interesting. But we just haven't seen these deals certainly in a long time. From the Melbourne Storm to the Parramatta Eels to the Broncos, 3 clubs in 2 seasons.
Yeah. I think the bit that people get a bit ruffled by, and I think we spoke about it last week, was because he's not going from Melbourne, going on loan, coming back to Melbourne. He's actually going from Melbourne to Para on a legitimate 1-year deal and then going to Brisbane. That's what's throwing people out. I think if he went Melbourne, Para on loan, back to Melbourne, people wouldn't care as much. Yeah. But it's just because this is different.
I'm going to give you one, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to call it now.
Okay.
And I think Parramatta fans, this is why you should be positive about the move, is because if things don't pan out in Brisbane, guess where Jonah Pezet's coming back to?
Yep.
He'll come back to Parramatta because in the space of 12 months, Jason Riles will put a culture and a belief and a support around Jonah to develop his game, and that will stay with Jonah as he goes to Brisbane. I'm not saying it's not going to work in Brisbane, but things happen for different reasons, and if down the track it doesn't work out at the Bronx, I reckon he's coming back to the Blue and Golds.
You know what's interesting for Brisbane, Dave? They got a young kid named Kobe Black. He's been in the system for a long time. A lot of people have thought he was going to be the next great halfback coming through, right? He's Queensland under-19 guy, and he's been earmarked to be their long-term number 7. And they've now brought over the top of him. Yeah. And I know at least one club's already rung his management, run KB Black's management, and said, hey, if he doesn't want to hang around, let's have a chat. So they might lose KB Black as a result of this. Now, they got Jonah Pezet. They're probably not worried because they've got Jonah and Ezra Mam in the halves. But if KB Black becomes the player people thought he might become, it'd be interesting how we look at this decision.
Parramatta might get him.
Well, exactly. But interesting how we look at it in the rear view mirror in 5 years' time.
Sure. Moves are plenty against. Manly Seagulls, they've done well here. They've retained Turbo. And it's an important re-signing, I think. Tom Trbojevic has re-signed through till
end of 27.
End of 27.
Yeah. I don't think he was ever going to go. There's a lot of talk about Super League.
Yeah.
And, potentially going overseas, but he never wanted to leave Manly.
Yeah.
And basically what he's done is he's taken a big haircut, big pay cut, and he said, I'm backing myself that at the end of 27, I'll have played so well for 2 years, you'll want to give me $1 million again.
Right.
So it's ballsy by Tommy.
Yeah.
To do that because he's had injuries, as we all know. He's had injury problems. When he's fit, firing at his best, he's still arguably the best player in the game.
Yeah.
Along with Nathan probably, and who else the best?
Well,
Reece these days.
Yeah.
But he's up on that. He's in that echelon.
As far as influence on your team, on his team, he sits among the top category when he's fit and firing as far as influence on the result is concerned. The question is Lehigh Hopewadi.
Yeah.
Like Lehigh's a talent.
Yeah.
Is this a roadblock in front of Lehigh?
Well, probably will be to play fullback. Yeah. I mean, he might look to move to the centres maybe, or played a bit of wing.
Ruben Garrick's testing the market.
Tolu Kula's a fair fullback as well.
Yeah.
He's been playing centre, obviously. So Seeb's got to work all that out, but I'm sure Tommy's re-signed thinking I'll be playing fullback. Yeah. And he's their best when he's at his best, he's the best fullback.
Yeah.
Lehigh's a good player, but he's not Tommy.
Yeah.
So look, I mean, it's the old good headache to have, right? Because you've got 3 really good players, can all play fullback, but if you can fit them all in, Manly could do some damage next year.
Reedy, there's a fair bit happening over in the UK. Yeah. Andrew Abdo, NRL CEO, and Peter Volandes, the ARL Commission Chairman, are currently, or have been certainly in the UK, trying to make sure this sinking ship of the English Super League, well, it doesn't sink.
It is, yeah.
And they're trying to resurrect. I think it's so important.
Has to happen, Dave.
To maintain a presence of rugby league at an elite level with the English Super League, and this process of the NRL attempting to at least gain some direction and ownership and leadership of the English Super League is the play.
Well, we saw how bad England were in that first test. I mean, the English game is struggling. And the NRL, the Australian game is, we're flying over here. Yeah. We've got money to burn. Yeah. So, the English Super League needs someone with people with Peter and Andrew's vision and aspirations and drive, because they don't seem to have it. That's the only way we're going to restore the English game to any semblance of credibility, right? Yeah. So, look, they've had a meeting this week. They emerged from it reasonably. It was promising. The word coming out of it was a promising meeting, and things progressed. And I think the sooner it happens for the English game, the better. Yeah. It was because they need the NRL expertise.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately, certainly in our inquiries, it's largely about the big clubs dominating the competition, but also dominating the decision making, and probably not in the best interest of the entire competition.
No, but
and that's why under the direction of an independent, call it an independent commission, similar to what is at the NRL, they can make decisions that are in the best interest of the game in the UK.
Well, I mean, it's crucial, though, Dave. They need the big clubs on board because they wield all the power. If you get Wigan, Warrington, St Helens, Leeds, Hull and Hull on board, Super League's got no choice but to fall in the line because without those teams, there is no Super League. It's dead. Yeah. Because those teams create all the revenue and all the interest. So, and it sounds like those guys are, if they're not totally on board, they're committed to speaking to the NRL. Yep. So, look, I think this will happen. I think the NRL will get some form of influence over Super League, and I think it's huge. And I think it's huge for the game over there. You know, obviously on the back of the Test series as well, you got, what was it, 60,000 at Wembley the other day. Everton sold out. Headingley sold out. Hopefully the Poms put up a better performance than they did in the first Test because they were rubbish. But you know, it's hopefully we're seeing some promising signs.
Reedy, I'll tell you what I'm loving. The Pacific Championships, and this is an area.
Is that because you're on a junket, Dave?
I don't know if it's a junket. I am heading to Auckland. I can't wait.
Yeah, huge.
This is like a gift that the game. Did the game see coming? Yeah, probably. But this is an area of the game, the growth, the interest, the TV ratings, the crowds, that has just created new life in the international game. I'm talking about Samoa, Tonga and New Zealand. It's going to be huge. Expecting a crowd of around 35,000 at Eden Park on Sunday between the Kiwis and Tonga.
That'll be massive, Dave.
We saw last week at Suncorp.
It was amazing last week.
Amazing.
Sadly, it was a whitewash, right? And the game you're going to now, Tonga, New Zealand, it's a big game because Tonga need to win and win well, don't they, to make the final now?
Yeah. 16 to 17 points is the difference. They need to beat the Kiwis.
So they need to turn it on.
Yeah.
I thought they were pretty average. Samoa were great last week.
Yeah.
Geez, they're going to have a good team when you stick Tino in that team. Hammer. That's a good-looking team for the World Cup.
We're seeing the great decisions of these players picking their heritage nations to represent. Payne Haas is a significant one.
How good was he last week?
Huge. Absolutely huge. I had a chance to speak to Isaiah Katoa yesterday, who will represent Tonga. Not happy with his performance at all against Samoa. I expect Isaiah to...
Geez, he's a well-spoken kid, Dave. How'd you find him?
Unbelievable.
Is he 21?
Incredible, yeah.
Mate.
Absolutely outstanding.
I was watching the game last week, and when Tonga had the break for the lightning strike, he was in the huddle.
Yeah.
He was doing most of the talking.
Yeah. On his first couple of days in camp, and you've got to picture yourself doing this as a young 21-year-old. He walked up to Jason Taumalolo and Adam Fanua-Blake, his two forward teammates, hugely experienced, that arguably achieved everything in the game. And both of them turned to him and said, "You run our team."
Wow.
And imagine that as a young player, but he takes it on his shoulders so well. And I will say this, Reedy, I feel as though everything that's happening in this growth of the game in the international space of the Pac Champs, it's preparing Isaiah Katoa for the inevitable, and that is to represent the New South Wales Blues.
Yeah.
And he's playing in front of 40,000 at Suncorp, another 30,000 at Eden Park, incredible atmospheres and environment that he can walk into the Origin arena and be ready. And that's something that we couldn't say in years gone by about the Pac Champs. And there's so much debate around eligibility, but they're actually providing a great platform for future Origin players as well.
I can't remember a kid that age being that dominant in terms of his leadership. Like even Nathan. No. Nathan's sort of a quieter guy, right? He's a bit introverted, Nathan.
Well, Isaiah Yeo was the captain before him.
So, I mean, he like the maturity levels of that kid are ridiculous, Isaiah Katoa. And he's a hell of a player.
Yeah.
So, good things. You'll have a good time over there, Dave. Get down to the viaduct with you at some point.
Down in the viaduct.
What's that?
I want to go to the War Bar. It's not called the War Bar. The Warriors bought a pub. The Warriors bought a pub. I'm going to go there for sure.
Of course you are. Mates rates?
Now, winner of this game, Kiwis and Tonga face Samoa in the final at CommBank Stadium in Sydney. Now, if the Kiwis, they are favourites for this one. If the Kiwis win, and it's Kiwis-Samoa final at CommBank, it will be a blue whitewash. Blue wave? Blue wave. Blue wave. It'll be huge at CommBank. Get your tickets.
Dave, should we mention the Reece Walsh's performance at Wembley as well, just while we're touching on international footy? Very quickly, we should mention Australia, should we?
Yeah, pretty special.
Mate, how good's that kid going at the moment, Reece Walsh? Superstar.
Unreal.
Love him.